Welcome to another episode of Locating the Legends. On this channel, we're all about locating the destinations where mythology, folklore, and weird and wonderful experiences are rumored to have happened, and possibly are still happening. To be kept up to date on new releases of episodes, hit the subscribe button below. This week, we'll be diving into the Japanese children's game, Kagome Kagome. Much like Ring Around the Rose Tree, this children's nursery rhyme has a dark history. It is the song of the immortal children, the horribly tortured, the test subjects. Allegedly, it is first mentioned in documents procured by the Allies from German facilities. The story relayed through this documentation is horrifying. It goes as follows. In 1940, German scientists were set on finding a way to slow aging, effectively finding a way to create immortal beings. They believed that the way in which they could achieve this was through altering a kill switch in the brain. To their understanding, this was somewhere in the brain where your subconscious tells your body to die. The research was proposed to Nazi executives and permission was granted, on one condition. The experiments must take place outside of Germany and be kept totally secret from the German population. The scientists complied and supposedly organized a setup with their ally, Japan. They occupied an abandoned orphanage rumored to be in Shimane, an area near Hiroshima, and so the nightmare began. The Nazi scientists began their experiments, preferring children over adults as they believed their young brains were more adept for the purpose of the experiments, and hence the orphans became the primary test subjects. These children succumbed to extreme torture, psychologically and physically. Many children and staff met their untimely end as the scientists attempted over and over to remove the kill switch part of the brain. They were buried in the woods surrounding the orphanage, undocumented, unnamed, left to rot in unmarked graves. Finally, it was documented that in May of 1943, they achieved success after honing more finesse with a scalpel, and a 6-year-old girl not only survived the operation, but was deemed immortal. It is said, however, that every time she slept, she was declared clinically dead, and that she was revived each morning through electric shocks. Still the scientists persisted, and the experiments continued. With more and more successes, they soon began experimenting in other ways, removing limbs to see if they could be reattached, bashing in heads, and other horrendous forms of torture to test the limits of this supposed immortality. The scientists also began trying out different points of entry, and although the patients survived, they were still unsuccessful. It is said that one boy was left mentally retarded and without a forehead. A girl was left with a mangled lower jaw and no tongue after they tried an entry through the lower jaw, and a last girl was half deaf after entry through the side of her head. It was reported that post-surgery the children were coherent and even normal among their peers. However, when left alone with the scientists or the caretakers, they would transform into something dark and sinister. Their faces would take on a look of malice and hatred, and so the game would begin. Kagome, Kagome, they would begin chanting while circling and taunting their adult watchers. A journal entry of one of the scientists allegedly read, "They appear normal at first, just like any of the other children, playing, cheering, learning normally, but when separated from the others, they seem off. They stroll carelessly around with a blank smile on their face, their eyes looking straight at you. If approached from behind, their heads snap around with ungodly speed, and for a moment you can almost see an expression so vile on their face that it makes you want to cower. But then you realize they are just forming their dreamy smile again. They also seem to be playing a game a lot more than when we started. I haven't got much knowledge of Japanese, but it seems the game is named Circle U, as described by one of the translators. A group of children surround one child, who sits in the center, alone. They link arms and begin to move in a circular manner around the child, making scary faces at them and singing an eerie chant, "You lose if you flinch." By the end of the war, only 4 doctors remained. The rest had abandoned camp, for reasons that were undocumented, but it is rumored that they left on account of their mental state, many claiming to be showing signs of insanity. According to legend, the orphanage still stands, but locals avoid it at all costs, claiming that the woods surrounding the building are filled with strange, gnarled tree stumps which resemble human bodies. It is claimed that if you explore the forests of Hiroshima and find a path with truck marks on it, then this will lead you to the orphanage, where the immortal children wait in an old stone building draped in vines. Should you open the door, the smell of rotting corpses will greet you. The children and caretakers will be there playing their game, but at the sound of your entrance they will snap their heads around and ask, "Do you want to play?" If you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button below. Should you have any of your own stories of folklore in your area, please leave that in the comments below. Hope to see you next week on Locating the Legends.